We have a question from a viewer in Morrison County who wants to know about the budget surplus and is specifically concerned about whether or not we're going to be holding back any part of the budget surplus. What about reserve for future budget issues? I don't think we've had a chance to start with you, Senator Mathews. Let's give you the opportunity to step into the batter's box on that, since it's the start of spring training anyway. To start
Sure.
on that issue right now. Budget surplus, how much, where's the money coming from, et cetera. The floor is yours.
Absolutely. Great lead in. And tying back to what I was just talking about, we're sitting on the largest surplus that I've ever recalled at $18 billion. And I think it's wise to keep a chunk. And if we need to increase the chunk that we save on the bottom line for some form of rainy day fund, even if we make that a little bit bigger, that can be wise planning down the road. We are likely having tougher economic times coming ahead. We're still dealing with rising inflation. Numbers came out again today that shows it's going up, and gas prices, we're coming down a bit and now going back up again. And I want to try to help Minnesotans with more money in their pockets, with permanent ongoing tax relief. That's more money to you and I, week after week, month after month, year after year. Not a one-time payment that Governor Walz is still stuck on, of spending down some of the surplus in one-time spending like that, but real actual savings to Minnesotans that can be permanent. $18 billion that we're sitting on is just proof that we're taking too much from Minnesotans in the first place. And it's time for government to make some of the same decisions that families have to make, like I've been doing in my family here recently. Times getting tougher, and you have to look at your income and expenses and figure out, hey, we might have to shave this off or not do this activity, or find ways to cut costs here. And government really tries to keep itself immune from doing that. So I think we've kept the reserves around, $1.5 billion, $2 billion. I'd be fine with making sure that's full, even having that a little larger. And then if it were up to me, I would have a large chunk of this surplus going back to you, the taxpayers of Minnesota.
Senator Frentz.
Well, I think some of it's got to go back to the taxpayers too. And by the way, I'm not married to the idea of the rebate checks. I do think the logic includes the idea that for some families, a check of $1,000 right now can be quite helpful. And I also think there's some logic that says it would be most helpful to the families that had the least. So, I mean, I get the logic of it. I just don't think you have to do it that way. For context for the caller, we have a $17.6 billion surplus, of which roughly $6 billion is so-called structural or ongoing. The other 12 or so is one time. And so for permanent tax relief, I'd say that has to come out of that $6 billion. By the way, I would just point out we don't have a permanent surplus. So permanent tax relief does raise the question whether down the line we would move into deficit. But I'm open to that. Probably the one that gets the most discussion in our caucus is the Social Security tax relief that some of our DFL Senate members campaigned on, including me, for a full repeal. I can see we don't have the votes for a full repeal, but I'm hopeful that there'll be reduction in Social Security taxes. Frankly, I would trade that for the rebate checks. I think that would make more sense, and I think it sends a better message about people staying here in retirement. There's a lot of things we could talk about the budget, but those would be some of my thoughts. Senator Mathews mentioned that we have an automatic reserve so that the reserve will go up a little bit here, and I think that is appropriate. It's like a family that makes $50,000 a year that has to save $2,000 or $3,000 of that a year, and I think a lot of families would do that if they could.
Representative Swedzinski, the question about reserves, taxes, and we'll throw in the Social Security question. I'll come back to Senator Mathews on that issue too. So, but anyway, for you first, taxes, reserve, what do you have to say about that?
Certainly, Justice Anderson. I think that's a big thing. We do have structural accounts that we put some dollars in. So we have a rainy day account, we have a cash flow account, so that if we do run into issues with the budget that's set up, we do already have some of those accounts that are set up I think my guess is the question by the caller would be focusing those dollars above and beyond, but actual just cash, cash in the checkbook, so to speak, dollars that aren't going necessarily and spoken for. I absolutely agree. I think, we will be budget, the governor in the House and the Senate will be basing their budget off the February forecast, which is going to be coming out in a few days, a week. I'm not even sure. But that's likely, from all intents and purposes. Senator Frantz said that it's going to be, it's currently 17.6. I think most folks agree that it's likely to go up past that. So we could be seeing a surplus in the 18 or 19 billion dollar. One of the first things when government is full, the last thing is we should be filling it up more. And one of my big concerns is where the governor released his budget with the programming, and they're looking at multiple billion-dollar tax increases. So not only do we have a surplus of potentially up to $20 billion that we'll be dealing with, but we're also seeing a DFL majority and Governor Walz that's looking at increasing taxes by multiples of billions of dollars, increasing government, increasing pressure, especially on independent businesses, raising the cost of doing business and their competitiveness, and really putting us at a potential disadvantage at a time when jobs are going to be scarce. We're seeing layoffs increase, especially in the tech sectors across the country. Those are all, what happens in California in the summertime is what maybe happens here in the winter, or what happens in California wintertime may come in the fall or spring. And so I'm really concerned about what that potentially the outlook is. You're looking at a lot of the graph readers in Wall Street. They're really concerned on the, kind of that rolling up. We're going to see inflation come down, and the reason why inflation is going to potentially start creeping down, it's still high, but is because of major layoffs and people are really tightening their personal belts. It's time for state government to do the same.
Senator Mathews, I want to give you a chance to talk about the Social Security issue that Senator Frentz raised. As a matter of fact, that's a question that another viewer also had. So we're going to take care of two birds here with one stone. Social Security.
All right. Sounds good. Appreciate that. Yeah, it was one of the top issues that I heard over and over again for over a year and all through last year's campaign, and still getting asked about it this year. Going $18 billion surplus. Can you get us a Social Security full exemption for that? And it's important to a lot of Minnesotans. And I know, Senator Frentz, the Democrats have a 34-33 majority in the Senate, and if you all put it on the floor next Monday, it would pass with large bipartisan support. You'd have all 33 of our members, plus you, and by my count, there's, I think, 5 or 6 in your caucus that have been vocal about this. And so it would definitely pass with bipartisan support. I suspect Representative Swedzinski could make a same claim in his body, and we could have it on the governor's desk next week, if not for political choices made by leadership that are trying to weigh out competing factions in the majority caucus. So we're giving them opportunities, and we'll give future opportunities to do the right thing. This is supported by a large, broad spectrum of Minnesotans and by a broad spectrum in the legislature, and there should be no reason we don't get it done this year.